me. Right, Will?
That's right.
Welcome back, everybody. Let me introduce you to our panel. Will Kane's with us this morning. He's a CNN contributor and a columnist for theblaze.com.
Me and the ladies this morning.
That's right, you and the ladies. Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack is with us. She's a Republican congresswoman from the state of California. And Erin Carmone is a staff writer at Salon.com, joining us as well for the first time. Great to have you this morning. That was off my playlist. Mary J. Blige. We usually start in my house when I used to not come here in the morning, and I was like getting people ready for school with No More Drama, which is really, it's like everybody take a deep breath. Let's get it together.
You started with your own playlist at home with your children?
Yes, I did. They're small and impressionable. Right. That's why I did it. Our starting point this morning is the closing day of the NATO summit. It's happening in Chicago, and many people expect that it's going to bring more protests, and probably violent protests like we saw yesterday where dozens of people were arrested. Clashes with police happened on Sunday near the summit meeting site. Anti-NATO demonstrators say they're going to march to Boeing headquarters today. Let's get right to CNN's Ted Rowlands. He was in the middle of the chaos on Sunday. I'm sure he'll be back at it right in the middle again today. What are they saying about what they're going to try to do at Boeing, Ted?
Well, Soledad, the plan is to shut down Boeing, and what they're doing is they're going to surround the building. It's a very large building downtown Chicago here. They're launching that in the next hour here in Chicago, and they say they're going to be there all day long. Now, Boeing is pretty much shut down anyway because of this threat. They put up fences around the building, and they've told their employees to work from home. But they'll be out there again today. They were at it last night until after midnight. 40-plus arrests and several injuries yesterday. Several injuries to protesters and also to police officers. 4 police officers were injured, according to the Chicago Police Department. 1 officer stabbed in the leg. In fact, last night, the superintendent of the Chicago Police came out and said, if there's any finger pointing after looking at this video, those fingers should be pointed squarely at the protesters. My officers, he said, were protecting themselves.
In some of these pictures, Ted, we see the police, obviously, sometimes with their batons out, you know, kind of smacking at the protesters. And I think you see a couple of different groups of protesters. You see folks who are dressed in black with the black bandanas, the black bloc. And then you see other protesters who seem to be more peaceful, sort of carrying signs and sometimes just marching silently through. Tell me about those 2 different teams of protesters.
Yeah, and the vast majority of the protesters who are in Chicago this week are the ones that are here for a specific issue. We had a number of nurses, thousands of nurses here on Friday. We had some Iraqi and Afghanistan war vets here yesterday carrying signs, trying to deliver a message to the NATO leaders, and they have been following the rules. They've had permits for all of their protesters. And then there's the small group, the very small group of agitators who have been defiant, who have ignored police commands to move off of certain areas, and that's where the trouble really is.
Ted Rowlands for us this morning. Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit more about actually why everybody is in Chicago for the summit. Damon Wilson is a former top aide to the NATO Secretary General. He's also the executive vice president at the Atlantic Council. They're hosting a conference for young leaders at the summit today. It's nice to see you. Thanks for talking with us. Obviously, the focus of the conversation.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Afghanistan is the focus of the conversation, and that's tough on a number of fronts. First, you have troops. Then you have sort of the financial commitment. Then you have sort of long-term relationship commitment conversations to be had. What's the main focus, or is it sort of all of the above that has to be discussed today?
You know, it is all of the above. This is a focus on Afghanistan, and frankly, the summit's been a forcing event for President Obama, the NATO Secretary General, to help sort of bring back the coalition and focus it on a way forward in Afghanistan when there have been a lot of questions about a tough war. And so what you're seeing coming out of Chicago is an effort to keep the allies, keep the members of the coalition all on the same message, the same page with the strategy that keeps the NATO mission through the end of 2014. But recognizes, builds in milestones in 2013 to transfer lead responsibility to the Afghans in Afghanistan. So this has been part of a real effort to try to unify all the partners in Afghanistan at a time when there were a lot of questions being raised about the way forward.
A lot of questions being raised, and also we're in the midst of a big financial crisis. Certainly the European nations may not want to commit to anything financially till 2024. How big of a problem is that going to be?
Well, certainly, I think this whole summit is characterized by how does NATO operate in an age of austerity when defense budgets are tight. You just have to accept that reality. But you think about where we've come from. We've had our partners in Afghanistan in this mission fighting this war for over a decade. That's a pretty remarkable accomplishment. And so what the summit's doing is trying to lock everyone in for the next 2 years on clarity, try to fulfill the mission in Afghanistan in a way that doesn't let al-Qaeda and the Taliban return to create problems in Afghanistan again. So the financial aspect's huge. It's a serious issue. But what you're seeing is the allies signing up to a plan that does commit to end the war, leads them through a path of gradual drawdowns, and increasingly transfers the responsibility to Afghans. And the allies will remain, rather than in a combat role, more in a training and advising and assist role, a much cheaper role as well.
Hey, Damon, this is Will Kane. You know, the Europeans may not even be President Obama's biggest problem at these NATO meetings. I know that President Asif Ali Zardari from Pakistan was invited to discuss, among other things, how the supply routes from Pakistan into Afghanistan have been shut down. What's the relationship going to be like between President Obama and the President of Pakistan over these next couple days?
You're right. That's a key issue here. In fact, President Zardari received a very late invitation. NATO had basically taken the point of view that as long as Pakistan was blocking the supplies to NATO forces in Afghanistan, well, it was actually not helping the operation. It was really working to undermine the NATO mission. And so the alliance held out to issue the invitation until there was a real prospect for a breakthrough on these negotiations. So it's been a difficult relationship. It's been and it will continue to be a complicated relationship.
Is the tenor of this meeting?
But I think the alliance.
Is the tenor of the meeting between President Obama and President Zardari to make this more tense almost? I read they won't meet individually. They won't meet in person in order to put pressure on the President of Pakistan.
Well, Secretary Clinton has had a long session with President Zardari, but that is the focus. If you're going to come to a NATO summit and be part of the community that's trying to help the mission in Afghanistan succeed, then Pakistan needs to come to the table with good intentions to help conclude a deal to allow the resupply of forces in Afghanistan. It's a critical issue for the success of this mission. As long as Pakistan prevents that, it really does have a real drawback, a really effort to undermine the mission. So I think they're close to an agreement, and I think that's why you see Zardari here. So there won't be a bilat with the president, but he's sitting here around the table with all the other nations that are trying to help Afghanistan succeed, and that's a good thing.
Hi, it's Irene Carmon from Salon. Question for you. While we're talking about the president's relationship with various leaders, I understand that in contrast to the relationship with Zardari, there has been an improvement of relations with Hamid Karzai. Do you see what's responsible for the change in that dynamic, and do you see that holding up?
You know, I think folks, what I've heard from many of the delegates, many of the allies, is that folks have been very pleased with the attitude that President Karzai has come to this summit with. It's one of the big concerns. NATO knows that the real success in Afghanistan has to come from responsibility from Karzai, from the Afghans, in terms of good governance, anti-corruption. And the president's been on message. President Karzai has been saying the right things in here, Chicago. I think the test is whether he can continue to deliver good governance, serious anti-corruption efforts, and help lead Afghanistan through a real democratic transition as his term comes to an end. But you saw Karzai out yesterday thanking the American people, for the American taxpayers, for their commitment to Afghanistan, and that sets the right tone, I think, here in Chicago from Afghanistan's part.
Congresswoman.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to ask the question that the president really needs to take the opportunity right now, especially with these protests, to reinforce our commitment to NATO and really talk about the importance of really retaining the leadership role. Do you think he's coming across at all to the American people? Because I don't. I think he really needs to make the case that it is important that we maintain a strong alliance, that it's much cheaper actually to be strong than it's going to be if we lose our strength in the world. And I think the president has projected a lot of weakness there. Is he again pushing it all to the American people, an agenda of a strong NATO leadership role for America?
I think he is. When you heard the president yesterday, he was talking about this alliance as a force multiplier for the United States and its efforts around the world. So first of all, the fact that the United States is hosting this summit, this is only the third NATO summit ever to be hosted on U.S. soil. That by itself is a real testament and demonstration of U.S. commitment to the alliance. But you're right. For the American people, who have been watching the war play out in Afghanistan for a decade, who have been questioning whether Europeans are ponying up their fair share of the burden in the alliance. The public diplomacy side of this is important to show that the United States is committed to the alliance, but more than that, the United States is really the leader of the alliance, and that's playing out here in Chicago. And I think you'll continue to see more of that today. President Obama's statements about how the alliance actually helps the United States succeed in the world is the right message for the American people, particularly at a time when defense dollars are tight. Having 40,000 European troops with us in Afghanistan is 40,000 fewer American troops, and that's a good thing for the American taxpayer.
David Wilson joining us this morning. Thanks for your time. Good luck with your panel today. I know you're going to be talking to a lot of young leaders. It'll be interesting to hear what they think is sort of the way forward as well. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Let's get right to Christine. She's got an update on the other stories making news today. Hey, Christine.
Thank you, Soledad. Well, it is decision day in the Records webcam spying case. Darren Ravi could get 10 years in prison for hate crimes against Tyler Clementi. A jury convicted him of spying on and intimidating his gay roommate. Clementi jumped off New York's George Washington Bridge, killing himself after Ravi used a webcam to spy on him with another man. Again, he'll be sentenced today. Aftershocks rattling northern Italy, thousands of victims waking up in cars, tents, and schools after one of the worst quakes to hit northeast Italy in centuries. The 6.0 magnitude quake killed 7 and injured at least 50 people yesterday. The quake knocked down a clock tower, reduced buildings that have stood for hundreds of years to rubble. It also destroyed $65 million worth of cheese in a region known for its Parmesan production. Dominique Strauss-Kahn could soon face charges in the alleged gang rape of a Belgian prostitute during a party at her hotel in Washington, D.C. almost 2 years ago. French prosecutors are launching an investigation. A French newspaper says the allegations came from statements 2 escorts made to Belgian police. You may remember he was also arrested after a New York hotel maid accused him of sexual assault last year. He was cleared on that charge after her story fell apart. He's not on the Republican ticket, not yet at least, but Florida Senator Marco Rubio sounded very vice presidential this weekend, going after President Obama, attack dog style.
The man who today occupies the White House and is running for president is a very different person. We have not seen such a divisive figure in modern American history as we have over the last 3.5 years.
A DNC spokesman fired back, saying Republicans attacking the president for being divisive is the ultimate case of the pot calling the kettle black. Now let's check in on the markets. U.S. stock futures poised for a rebound after closing lower on Friday. You know, stocks had their worst week of the year last week, mostly because of concerns about Greece and its future. Commodities are cooling, by the way. Oil prices are down to about $91 a barrel right now. Bee Gees singer Robin Gibb is being remembered by his peers as a musical icon with an unmistakable voice. Gibb died Sunday after a long battle with cancer. Along with brothers Barry and Maurice, the Bee Gees helped define the disco era, in large part due to songs from Saturday Night Fever. Robin Gibb's death comes just days after the passing of another 70s legend, Donna Summer. Really a soundtrack for a certain generation's life.
Yeah, the disco era taking a big giant hit. God, Donna Summer too, right? I was on vacation when that happened. That's so sad. I miss her too. All right, Christine, thank you. Still ahead this morning on Starting Point. He was arrested dozens of times and beaten into a daze while trying to end segregation in the South. This morning, civil rights hero, the congressman from Georgia, John Lewis, is telling his story in a new book. It's all Congress people all morning here on Starting Point. We have Congresswoman Bono Mack with us this morning, and John Lewis will join us as well in just a moment. And then a school shutting off its vending machines after getting a big, giant junk food fine. We'll tell you what they have to pay. You're watching Starting Point. We're back in a moment.
America's Choice 2012 is brought to you by Cadillac, the new standard of the world. Go to CNN.com/election for trending political stories and the latest news on the campaigns.
When it comes to sports sedans, the Audi A6 is faster.
At depreciating. The 270 horsepower 2012 Cadillac CTS, the winner of an Edmunds.com Best Retained Value Award. Take advantage of this exceptional offer on the exhilarating CTS sports sedan today.
You didn't choose to travel like this, but you can choose to travel like this and enjoy more of this and this. It's a new stay. This is Courtyard.
Can't fly to Paris for the French Open? No problem. DirecTV gives you 6 dedicated channels so you can watch every match of the tournament. All of Roland Garros is yours when you have DirecTV.
We had never used a contractor before and didn't know where to start.
At Angie's List, you'll find reviews on everything from home repair to healthcare, written by people just like you.
No company can pay to be on Angie's List, so you can trust what you're reading.
Angie's List is like having thousands of close neighbors where I can go ask for personal recommendations.
That's the idea. Before you have any work done, check Angie's List.
From roofers to plumbers to dentists and more, Angie's List. Reviews you can trust.
I love you, Angie. Sorry, honey.
A route map shows you where we go, but not how we get there. Because in this business, there are no straight lines, only the twists and turns of an unpredictable industry. So the 80,000 employees at Delta must anticipate the unexpected and never let the rules overrule common sense. This is how we tame the unwieldiness of air travel, until it's not just lines you see, it's the world.
Surf's up, everybody get your boards and your wetsuits. FreeCreditScore.com's gonna direct you to check your credit score before it gets too late, and you end up strapped for cash patching your board with duct tape. So hit FreeCreditScore.com, find out what credit's about, or else you could be headed for a credit wipeout. A credit wipeout. A credit wipeout. A credit wipeout. You could be headed for a wipeout.
Offer applies with enrollment at FreeCreditScore.com.
This might be the first time we've had Mavis Staples on Starting Point, I believe. That's This Little Light of Mine. That's from Congressman John Lewis's playlist. I have to make a correction. I said Mick Jagger was 64. He's 68. You were right, Congresswoman. I flipped the ages.
I still thought he was over the 70s, so.
Right.
You're in better place with him right now than I am.
Yeah, I'm closer by an inch. Congressman John Lewis endured attacks from angry mobs, bloody beatings by police, and more than 40 arrests. It was all in the name of civil rights. He was 25 years old when he led the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a nonviolent act which ended in violence on the part of authorities against Lewis and his fellow marchers. He shares the lessons that were learned from that era and the ways to apply them today in a new book which is called Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. It's so nice to have you. Thanks for talking with us this morning.
Well, thank you very much. I'm delighted and very pleased to be here and to see my colleague. It's wonderful to see you.
Thank you. It's great to see you, too.
We're so glad Starting Point could bring everybody together here this morning.
Well, you need to know, this is this man all the time. On the floor of the United States House of Representatives, he is always a gentleman and really epitomizes what is right about the Congress. So it's an honor to be here with him today.
Well, it's good to be with you. You know, I believe deeply in the philosophy and the discipline of nonviolence. And I truly believe that we must respect the dignity and the worth of every human being.
Is it getting harder to pitch that message? We were talking earlier about sort of the angry messages, whether it's through sometimes social media, which can be so inherently hostile. We've been watching pictures all morning of the protest in Chicago. It's about 150 protesters in that black bloc group. So, you know, small number compared to the bigger number of the protesters, but very violent protesters. Is it hard to get the message of nonviolence out today?
I still think we have an obligation, really a mission, to teach people the way of peace, the way of love, the way of nonviolence. You may disagree with someone, but respect that person. And my book is all about moving away from violence and conflict and living a life of peace and create a community at peace with itself.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Congressman, 42 years ago, you did exactly that, right? You put a protest, a march together that was specifically about, or had an integral part of its message, nonviolence. As you see what's going on in the Occupy Chicago NATO movement, what did you do to keep those who would co-opt your movement or introduce violence into your movement out? Was it simply the message that kept them out, or did you have to do something proactive?
Well, before anyone could participate in a march, or sit in, or go on a freedom ride, or stand in at a theater, you had to attend a nonviolent workshop. You had to study, prepare yourself. Study what Gandhi attempted to do in South Africa. Study what he accomplished in India. Study what Martin Luther King Jr. was all about. Study Thoreau and civil disobedience. And it just didn't happen one day, one night, over a period of time.
You grew up in poverty, no running water in your home. You had 3 people you knew who were assassinated as you went through your life's work. You were nearly killed in various marches and arrests that you were subjected to. You rose out of all of that to become a congressperson. Your book is very optimistic. Do you feel optimistically about the state of the nation today?
One must be optimistic. One must be hopeful. If you get lost in a sea of despair, you will give up. The book is about never, ever giving up or giving in or giving out. That you have to keep the faith. And you have to take the long, hard look that the struggle is not a struggle that lasts for one day or 1 week or one congressional term or one semester. It is a struggle of a lifetime, of many lifetimes. But we all must play a role and do our part.
What's been the best moment of your life? If you had to pick one moment looking back, what's been the best?
Meeting Martin Luther King Jr. when I was only 18 years old changed my life forever, set me on a different path, made me a better human being. And from that point on, I committed my life to a way of peace, a way of love, a way of just finding a way to get in the way. Because my parents had told me, my grandparents and great-grandparents, don't get in trouble, don't get in the way. But I was inspired to get in the way, to get in trouble. It was good trouble, necessary trouble.
You wanted to jump in here?
Yes, I wanted to ask you about a civil rights cause of our time, specifically marriage equality, which I know you've come out in support of, and the president, and just recently the NAACP. I'm wondering if you think that, people constantly say, oh, the African American community, the religious community within the African American community is opposed to gay marriage. I'm wondering if you think that the NAACP, your support, the president's support, is that going to move the needle in terms of support in that community?
And is it true? I mean, is that even true? Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Should we be debunking that?
Well, I don't think the great majority of African American, whether they be religious leaders or political leaders, are opposed to marriage equality. I think that is something that is very much misleading. Many of us take a simple lesson from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King used to say over and over again, when people ask about interracial marriage, he would say racists don't fall in love and get married. Individuals fall in love and get married. So if 2 men or 2 women want to fall in love and get married, it's their business. It's not the business of the federal government or the state government. You cannot have equality for one group of people and not for another group. You cannot build a wall.
And I know one of the things you were fighting about in the civil rights movement were voting rights. And there's been a lot of concern about states passing laws that many worry will restrict voting rights. What can we do about that? What's happening on that front?
Well, I happen to believe that there is a systematic, deliberate effort to take us back to another period, making it harder and more difficult for young people, for seniors, for the disabled community, for minorities to participate in the democratic process.
The book is called Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. It's so nice to have you, sir. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Always good to see you.
Thank you so much. We've got to take a short break. We're back in just a moment. I'm going to tell you about a junk food fine. Did it go too far? A big chunk of change that now high school's looking at ways to pay it. We're going to tell you about that straight ahead on Starting Point. We're back in just a moment.
This place It's where loneliness is by choice, and friends gather at will. It's where you find the fondest moments and memories fade. This is where it all happens. This is where brilliance happens. Live brilliant. Hyundai.
At home, you play a lot of roles.
Mom, computer's broke. Where's IT, Mom? She quit.
Even with technology, it's all you. That's why you've got us. Get up to $200 off select computers. Staples, that was easy.
Think it's impossible to reduce the look of wrinkles after just one use?
Think again.
With Olay Regenerist Wrinkle Revolution, it's possible to reduce the look of wrinkles in just 10 minutes. Now you've seen it,
Experience it for yourself.
Olay Regenerist.
Awards tell everything. Who won ATW's Airline of the Year? Who won Skytrax Airline of the Year? Who won Global Travelers Airline of the Year? It's the one. The only Golden Grand Slam award-winning airline. A passion for service. Asiana Airline.
To know that you let down somebody who loves you.
Fallen Hero, New Purpose. Marion Jones gets personal with Piers Morgan. Tonight, 9 Eastern.
If you could step into the future of television, what would you find? New ways to share. New ways to explore. And new ways to stay in touch. The future begins now with the new Smart TV from Samsung.
Shine a light on your hero. Nominate them today at cnnheroes.com. Brought to you by Geico.
Calling all vampire-chasing cooking show fanatics. Enjoy all the things you love better with Time Warner Cable. Never miss a minute of your favorite shows, even if you forget to set your DVR. And forget buffering with our fastest internet. Call 1-855-547-1431 today for packages as low as $99.99 a month. And ask how you can get over 25 of the hottest premium movie channels free for 3 months. Time Warner Cable.
Every make,
Cadillac, Chevrolet, Ford, Honda, Lexus, Toyota,
every model,
CTS, Beat, Silverado, LS, Optima, LS, Sport, Camry, CLS,
every feature,
17-inch alloy suspension, turbocharged,
a showroom in your living room. Automotive on Demand, channel 1276, only on Time Warner Digital Cable.
To see more of the great models found on Automotive on Demand, go to Nissan of Manhattan.
Sanjay Gupta, MD. CNN every Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
Our Get Real this morning. Here's a way to make your vending machine much more expensive. Davis High School found out. It's in Kaysville, Utah. They have gotten a $15,000 fine for violating a federal law that bans the sale of soda during lunch. The school turned off all the soda machines that were located in the lunchroom during the lunch period, which lasts about 47 minutes. They forgot one that's in the school bookstore, and they got fined. To pay the fine, school says they're probably going to have to make some cuts, or they could make cuts in the theater program, the music program, and the debate program, because I guess the selling of the soda, which is a whole other issue, right, funds those programs, which is horrible, really, when you think about it. That has to be funded. Those programs that kids should get anyway, funded on the backs of paying for soda. The school, any school that receives funding for the federal school lunch program has obviously certain nutritional guidelines that they have to agree to. One of those guidelines is no soda sold during lunch, no carbonated beverages. Here's what the school's principal said. He says the law's filled with baffling loopholes, and it doesn't work anyway because the kids can go around the corner to the convenience store and buy soda. So, and he also said, listen, we can sell a Snickers bar, but we can't sell licorice. We can't sell Swedish fish, but we can't sell Starburst. We can't sell Skittles. We can sell ice cream. We can sell the Snickers bar, the Milky Way, and all that other stuff. This poor principal, whose name is Burton, D. Burton, from Davis High School, sounds utterly perplexed and mad. And if you think they're paying something like $5,700 per student, so a $15,000 fine That's like
that's silly law.
That's a lot.
I don't want my kids eating sweets at school.
Totally
I don't
agree.
want my
Me
kids
neither.
drinking Cokes at
Completely
school.
agree.
But this shows the absurdity of federal government, Washington, D.C., dictating what's going on in a vending machine at some school. Where'd you say it was? Somewhere in the United States.
But at the same time,
it's a very contorted regulation. Clearly, if they can sell Snickers bars, there's something wrong with the way this was written, either because there's some sort of intervention, like who's funding what. But I mean, it just sounds like they could simplify it, right?
Yeah, they just not have a federal law
no matter what you do.
Well, and how about the bigger picture is, like, why do you have a theater program based on selling soda, right? Because really, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're pushing kids to buy soda so you can have a theater department, a debate team, and a music department.
But this is what's so wrong with having the federal government involved at all. They just don't make this decision.
But they're funding it. I see why they'd say, if you're going to fund it, you got to have healthy food.
But let the school boards decide, and let the school boards...
But for funding, wouldn't they decide? If they had the chance to decide, wouldn't the school board say...
I'm all for healthy eating for our kids, but silly laws out of Washington, D.C. aren't going to make it any better. It's just
just because it's impossible. Thousands of miles away, here's your money, but here's the strings. Figure them out if you can.
Or we shouldn't sell soda to fund the debate team. It's wrong. Right. It's wrong. It's wrong. I've got to get to the cheese. Everyone's yelling at me. All right, still ahead this morning. This is a crazy story. Have you heard about this guy? From New Jersey, businessman, jailed in Bolivia, has not been charged, and in Bolivia they don't have to charge you for 18 months. We'll tell you why he's been locked up for 11 months in a prison that's more like a village. I mean, look at these pictures. It's like a village prison. His wife is fighting for his release. We're going to talk to her straight ahead about what's happening there. And Newark's mayor, sorry, Mayor Bloomberg, my mayor, Newark's mayor, Cory Booker, on the attack against President Obama's negative campaign ads. He's backtracking a bit this morning. We'll tell you why. You're watching Starting Point. We're back in just a moment.
Somebody got a hold of him.
Yeah, that's what you think.
You didn't choose to travel like this. But you can choose to travel like this. And enjoy more of this, and this. It's a new stay. This is Courtyard.
Healthier, more radiant skin. It's in your future now. Discover the power of Aveeno Positively Radiant with Total Soy. It's clinically proven to visibly reduce past damage, while broad-spectrum SPF 30 helps prevent future damage. Aveeno Positively Radiant.
For heart health, Mega Red Omega-3 Krill Oil. Unlike fish oil, Mega Red is small and easy to swallow with no fishy smell or aftertaste. Mega Red. And to get even more of the #1 Omega-3 supplement, try Mega Red Extra Strength.
CNN Tonight, 8 Eastern. Anderson Cooper is keeping them honest.
What it is ludicrous, and that's why you can't come up with an explanation.
AC 360, CNN Tonight.
Weekdays, it's Markets Now on Fox Business.
Big sales for automakers.
We will indeed see some reaction down here. Hedge funds are selling. That is one of the important points.
Tracking every trade, watching every sector.
The stock's actually at an all-time high.
U.S. manufacturing continued to expand.
Minute by minute, Markets Now is your source for real-time business news.
Gold and silver dropping like lead balloons today.
You still can find some opportunity.
Only one network has its pulse on the financial world. Fox Business, Time Warner Cable Channel 43.
I could use charm to get a better deal, but intimidation is more fun. Watch and learn.
Hi.
I want this Buick with OnStar, Sirius XM, and you're doing my oil changes.
Okay. Hey, I want all that stuff too. Okay.
Okay? If you don't know the Experience Buick lease, you don't know Buick.
Celebrate Memorial Day and lease this 2012 Buick LaCrosse with e-Assist for just $279 per month. Consider it a new lease on luxury.
Free. Marion Jones gets personal with Piers Morgan. Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Americans are always ready to work hard for a better future. Since Ameriprise Financial was founded back in 1894, they've been committed to putting clients first, helping generations through tough times, good times, never taking a bailout, there when you need them, helping millions of Americans over the centuries. The strength of a global financial leader, the heart of a one-to-one relationship. Together, for your future.
Smart is the new rich. Sponsored by Ameriprise Financial. Since 1894, we've helped millions of Americans achieve dreams. Start lives together. Start brighter futures. Start a confident retirement. Ameriprise Financial. More within reach.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get right to Christine Romans. She's got a look at our top stories this morning. Hey, Christine.
Hi there, Soledad. Chinese activist Chen Guangcheng is now in the United States. After escaping house arrest in his country, Chen, a vocal critic of China's government, will study law at New York University. But his struggles may not be over. New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith told us earlier the Chinese government tracks down dissidents who run to the U.S.
They are tracked, they are followed, they are harassed. So he will have to be watched. He will have to, there will have to be an extra layer of protection right here in New York. Because they do things like car crashes or, something happens that is made to look like an accident. So we have to keep, a very, very sharp focus on his safety.
Chen says he plans to eventually return to China. Newark, New Jersey Mayor Cory Booker is now backing off some surprising comments he made criticizing President Obama for attacks on Mitt Romney. Booker told NBC's Meet the Press yesterday that he was uncomfortable with President Obama attacking Romney's record at Bain Capital.
If you look at the totality of Bain Capital's record, they've done a lot to support businesses, to grow businesses, and this, to me, I'm very uncomfortable.
Now, Booker says Romney's record at Bain is fair game. In a new YouTube video, Booker says the president is, quote, reasonable to scrutinize Romney's business record.
I believe that Mitt Romney, in many ways, is not being completely honest with his role and his record, even while a business person, and is shaping it to serve his political interest.
Booker says his earlier remarks were meant to express his frustration with negative campaigning overall. Booker is a Democrat and is supporting President Obama for re-election. In today's Smart is the New Rich, oil prices are pulling back and gas prices have dropped 18 cents a gallon since April. But President Obama may soon tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve anyway. Over the weekend, the G8 countries said in a joint statement they would release oil from their strategic reserves if tough new sanctions on Iran put a strain on supplies. That way prices can be kept under control if the conflict with Iran over its nuclear program escalates. National average for a gallon of regular is about $3.69, falling over the weekend. But it's not just oil and gas prices on the decline. Other commodities, their bubbles appear to be deflating as well. And you could see price drops at the supermarket. Sugar and coffee futures are both down last week. Kraft Foods announced it's lowering prices on many of its U.S. coffees, including Maxwell House and some instant coffees. J.M. Smucker said it's slashing prices on Folgers and Dunkin' Donuts brands. So I guess, Soledad, that means drink up.
Yeah, what does slashing prices mean?
Fill up and drink up. 6% lower, 4 to 6% lower in some cases. After a year of rising coffee prices.
I was thinking it was going to drop like a penny, but it sounds like there's actually a decent drop. All right, Christine, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is an incredibly strange story to tell you about. An American man is sitting in prison in Bolivia, and it's like no prison you've ever heard of. The place is more like a village. It has 3,500 inmates, and they run the place, and they, in fact, even charge rent for a cell. That American man is 53-year-old Jacob Ostreicher, who's been languishing in that prison in Bolivia for 11 months. And in Bolivia, you can be held without charges for up to 18 months. Ostreicher is a businessman from Brooklyn. He worked in construction. When that business went bust, he invested in Bolivian rice farming. He's now being accused in being involved in money laundering. And he recently did an interview with ABC News. Listen.
It's an absolute nightmare. I feel all alone. I am begging the American people to try to help me.
Ostreicher's now on a hunger strike. He's trying to draw attention to his plight. His wife, Miriam Unger, is with us this morning as well. And I know part of your message is really to get the message out. Tell me a little bit about this village. That's a prison. What's it like? It looks horrific.
It is, actually. It is run by prisoners, and the prisoners that are the bosses in this prison are the ones that have the longest prison terms. This is seniority. And there is an average of 1 murder a month. They're all classified as suicides, people folding on knives. And it is true that you can get anything that you need there with the right amount of money. But part of that is what's dangerous, that you can also, you have to buy your security. and the shakedowns are normal there. And Jacob also doesn't speak Spanish, and this is another thing, that he is there alone, even though he is with 3,500 people. He spends 22 hours a day in a cell. He tries to stay away from everyone. The worst part is that he's an innocent man. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong, and he proved that innocence in a court of law.
In the court, in fact, when he went before a judge, the judge said that he was free to go.
Yes.
And then within days, they had actually remanded him right back to prison.
Yes.
What happened?
We don't know. Basically, the judge was ordered to explain his actions, and what he said was that he overstepped his boundaries by commenting on the evidence submitted by the defense. And a few weeks later, the judge was promoted to the appellate court. So, I mean...
Do you have a sense of what it is that they want? I mean, is this a bribery situation, or have they asked for money?
Well, I can tell you the facts of what happened. I cannot speak ill of the Bolivian government or the Bolivian country. Understand that my husband is still in prison over there, and there are repercussions for that. The facts of the case are that my husband went to Bolivia to run a rice business. There was 50 million pounds of rice produced in the first harvest. When he had to go purchase the bags to store the rice, he needed thousands of bags, and this opened eyes to people who have never heard of a company in Bolivia needing that many bags. An investigation started, and during the investigation, they confiscated 50 million pounds of rice with the excuse that one of the parcels of the land was purchased by a man that was wanted in Brazil 20 years ago. That was the excuse for putting Jacob in prison. The suspicion was illicit gains and criminal organization with absolutely no proof.
When you went to court, and we were talked about going before the judge, you showed all the paperwork that was tracking the money for every single thing that was purchased. And this was the reason your husband was freed the first time.
Yes.
We know that the U.S. ambassador to Bolivia was kicked out of the country. Evo Morales, the president of Bolivia, removed the ambassador. So what happens now? What do you want? Do you want Congress people to step in, the Secretary of State to step in?
Well, yeah, we want Jacob to come home. Besides, what's being done to him is unjust. He's not doing well. He's on a hunger strike since April 15. He's not the same person that he was before, and the State Department has their limitations as to what they can do when you go by diplomatic channels. I believe that this has to be taken on a much higher level. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton needs to get involved here, and I know that she can help my husband. He needs to come home. He is ill, and there will be irreversible damage if this is not escalated on a higher level.
You and your husband have 5 children?
Yeah, 5 children and 11 grandchildren.
And you've been down to the prison yourself and visited him, is that right?
I was there for 5.5 months. I refused to leave him. And
wow.
I gave an interview to CNN in early September, and after that interview, they started a process of obstruction of justice against me, and I had to flee the country.
Well, Miriam Unger, well, we wish you the best of luck. Please let us know, and we'll continue to follow this story.
Yes, I would like to tell the American people that my husband never, ever asked anyone for any help, ever. We are the kind of people that are hardworking people. We come from hardworking parents. This is the first time that we are reaching out to the American people and to the American officials to please help us. We have no other channels. There is a website that people can visit, freejacobnow.com, where they can sign a White House petition that we started, and to contact officials and put pressure on anyone in America that can help my husband.
All right. Thank you for telling us and sharing your story. It's so odd and horrific. We appreciate that. We got to take a short break. Still ahead this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of education and what they call the gap year. Dr. Steve Perry is going to join us with that straight ahead. You're watching Starting Point. We're back in a moment.
There are 350 ways to save summer in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Because here in Paradise, we think summer deserves more. More fun. More adventure. More culture. More possibilities. More meaning. Save $350 on your vacation package with our Sizzlin' Sampler promotion. Book now at Travelocity.com/USVI and do your part to save summer. Because summer's worth saving.
I love cash back.
With the Bank of America Card Cash Rewards credit card,
we earn more cash back for the things we buy most.
1% cash back. Everywhere, every time. 2% on groceries.
3% on gas, automatically. No hoops to jump through, no annual fee.
That's 1% back on... Wow. 2% on my homemade lasagna.
3% back on road trip.
Get 1, 2, 3% cash back. Apply online or at a Bank of America near you.
Ladies, we dropping you guys off somewhere?
No, we're coming with.
I'm right behind you guys. It's really beautiful out here, huh?
Cheese!
All right. Somebody want to take a picture of me?
Matt, do you want some help?
I'm good. Night, Matt.
Good night.
Hi, guys.
Mike and Brenda found a house that they really wanted.
It was in my sister's neighborhood.
I told you it was perfect for you guys.
It's literally across the street from her sister.
But someone else bought it before they could get their offer together.
We really missed a great
Dodged a bullet there.
So we talked to them about the Wells Fargo Priority Buyer Pre-Approval. It lets people know that you're a serious buyer because you've been credit approved.
We got everything in order so that we could move on the next place we found.
Which was clear on the other side of town.
Wells Fargo, with you when you're ready to move. CNN Sunday night.
What can these three countries teach America about healthcare?
Global lessons, the GPS roadmap for saving healthcare. Sunday night, 8 p.m.
Westside Tennis Club at Forest Hills, 38 courts, 4 championship surfaces, and just minutes from Midtown. Come join the area's premier tennis club, the Westside Tennis Club. Have you played Forest Hills?
Friend request. Let's be friends, because you're probably brilliant. Request denied. What are you going to do about it? Grenade. What the?
We make Facebook friendlier than ever. Take Call of Duty to new heights. And make Netflix more powerful.
Okay, I accept your friend request. I was kidding.
Enjoy internet, buffer free. Whatever your passion, we invent ways to love it even more. Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better.
Works. CNN presents Cold War. Own it now on DVD.
I'm chit-chatting. Look at our new member of our panel chit-chatting as we're coming out of commercial. Actually, I wanted to chat this morning with Congresswoman Bono Mack because you have a new, I guess, leadership role in sort of a unity conference that's happening in the Republican side of Congress. Tell me a little bit of what's happening.
It's actually the Republican Women's Policy Committee that we've created for the first time ever, which is really great. We're trying to make sure that the voices of Republican women in the Congress are actually heard on the national level. There are a lot of women who serve and do the job of being a member of Congress. They work very hard. They're very capable. And they need to be seen a little bit more. I think that our party doesn't do a good job of pushing them out in the forefront. So my goal is to have a lot of my female colleagues on the Republican side out there talking about their vision for America. And, you know, I'm so glad that there is a big debate in the country about women and the women's votes. It's about time. But
do you think there is a war on women, or do you think this is like a media thing where someone comes up with a headline and they, you know, it becomes a story when it's not a story, or do you think it's a political story that's got a headline?
It's politics. It's pure politics. But I'll tell you what, there's not a separate set of women's issues that I'm aware of. Really, we care about the same thing.
But what about the fact that, I mean, ever since kind of this new Congress came in, there have been so many restrictions and regulations that relate to reproductive rights, and there was a committee hearing specifically about the contraceptive coverage. I mean, those are women's issues, right?
Name one law that has been passed.
Well, some of them have passed the House, but they just can't pass the Senate. I guess, to me, I sort of wonder why this big focus on women's reproductive rights when there's so much going on in the economy.
I'll tell you what women care about when I'm home in my district or throughout the country. They care right now that it costs them $60 to fill up their gas tank. They care more about that. They care about it costing a lot more, to drive their kids to school, to get to work. Women care about the economy. They care about jobs.
Is there a bipartisan women's caucus?
There is, but unfortunately it doesn't do enough. It's not really given enough of an opportunity. And the women, by and large, on both sides of the aisle, get along very well. We talk about our families, our commutes. We get along so well. I wish America could see a little bit more of that, because we really don't bicker and fight as much as I think the rest of the Congress does.
Maybe it looks on television and cable news, as you might think if you watch enough TV. Great. We got to take a short break. Ahead on Starting Point this morning, we're going to talk about the gap year. Should students take a year off after they graduate from high school? Sounds relaxing, doesn't it? Dr. Steve Perry is going to join us to talk about that. Some people say if they take a year off, they're never going to go back. We'll see about that. You're watching Starting Point. We've got a short break. We're back in a moment.
The clock is ticking, America. It's time we focused on reality instead of rhetoric. It's time we finally get serious about energy prices and energy independence. It's time to embrace the fact that America's unsurpassed coal reserves can deliver centuries of affordable electricity. The clock is ticking. There's never been a more important time for America's most abundant, domestically produced energy resource, coal. Visit americaspower.org to get the facts.
I love cash back.
With the Bank Americard Cash Rewards credit card,
We earn more cash back for the things we buy most.
1% cash back. Everywhere, every time. 2% on groceries.
3% on gas, automatically. No hoops to jump through, no annual fee.
That's 1% back on... 2% on my homemade lasagna.
3% back on road trip.
Get 1, 2, 3% cash back. Apply online or at a Bank of America near you.
To some, this is their soup. To others, this is their soup. So right now it's buy one, get one free on most everything in the store, because the key to dressing well is to suit yourself. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
When a major hospital wanted to provide better employee benefits while balancing the company's bottom line, their very first word was...
Aflac.
Find out more at forbusiness.com.
If your air conditioner breaks down, don't just call any repairman. Call an expert. Service Experts Heating and Air Conditioning. Now get a free second opinion. Call Service Experts Heating and Air Conditioning at 866-EXPERTS.
I went to Ancestry.com, entered her name, and it led me to my grandmother's address in 1930. It's crazy. I used to live 4 blocks away from there.
Get started with your family history at Ancestry.com, and we'll help you make your own discoveries.
We imagined a vehicle that could adapt to changing road conditions. One that continually monitors and corrects for wheel slip. We imagined a vehicle that can increase emergency braking power when you need it most. And we imagined it looking like nothing else on the road today. Then, we built it. The 2012 GLK. See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for exceptional offers through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services.
Assembly lines that fix themselves. The most innovative companies are doing things they never could before by building on the Cisco Intelligent Network.
This interview with Steve Perry uses the Cisco Intelligent Network, the platform built for innovation.
All right. I love starting my morning with Kanye. We gotta get Kanye on the show. Do you think he'd want to get up early and hang out with us? I think he would.
Have gone to bed
Come on,
yet.
Kanye.
Let's see that head bobbing again, Steve. Can we see that?
Yes, Steve's dead. This is, of course, off Steve Perry's playlist. Hey, Steve Perry, good morning to you. We're talking about the gap year. Thousands of high school seniors are going to graduate. I know, because I'm doing a bunch of commencement addresses. This is when I get really busy, and I love it. Many parents, of course, happy to see their kids go off to college. Maybe not happy to pay for it, but happy to see them go. Other kids are taking what's known as the gap year, time off between high school and college to volunteer or intern or travel or gain a skill. There are some pitfalls to that, of course. Steve Perry is CNN's education contributor. So do you like this idea or not? I kind of like it, actually, the gap year.
And absolutely do not like it.
Why? Oh, gosh.
Because
it's going to go like that. All right, hostile interview phase, yes. Why?
Right, how about that? We've overdiagnosed and overpampered this generation enough. I mean, for God's sake, you want a gap, it's called summer. Get over it. Spend your time doing an internship during the summer, do an internship during the fall, and do what you have to do. We know that there's a persistence issue, especially among students from historically disadvantaged populations. And the last thing that we need to do is engage them in a lifestyle that is not school. Once you're out of practice, you're out of practice. Many people who've gone back to school tell how hard it is for them to get back in the swing of things.
And many people who take a gap year, and I agree, I think there are certain people who should not do a gap year, right, who are thinking about just not going back and they're waffling, and that's really the issue. But if you want to really go do something and it's mapped out, when I took time off before I graduated from college, you know what? You spend a little time in the real world and see what things actually cost and, like, pay for your meals as opposed to having your parents pay for things. I thought it was a great lesson.
I feel like I need to stand up for my generation here, for the millennials, because don't you actually feel like if we are so pampered as millennials, isn't it kind of good for people to get out in the real world before they go to this even more pampered setting of college?
But you're not getting out in the real world. You still live with your parents. If you want to get out in the real world, if you want to get out in the real world, homie, get out in the real world.
Right.
Get a job, get a degree.
I think we can agree that some gap years are better than others. Staying at home is one thing, maybe volunteering, doing AmeriCorps, that sort of thing. That's a real character building.
In this economy, though, that kids are graduating from college and there are no jobs to go do. I mean, if there's no job to go into, you have your bachelor's degree, and right now it's really hard for these kids to find a job. Is it still bad for them to take the year off? I mean, really their options now are travel abroad for a year or go to grad school, but it's really hard for them to find a job right now.
Well, one of the things that's important to understand is that nothing is for everyone, and there is no single solution for any group. But I do know that overwhelmingly, when I'm working with children, I'm telling them to go and do what you have to do, which is to go on to college. All these things that you've mentioned can be achieved in other ways. Like, for instance, you could do a semester abroad while still in college. You could take the time off between college and graduate school. There are other ways in which you can engage in something that's not collegiate during the process, making sure that the persistence remains, because in America, our persistence rates, our college matriculation rates actually have decreased over the past couple of years. So doing something like this, I believe, only adds fuel to the fire for people to stay home. You get a job as a bank teller or get a job doing something else, and then you begin to engage in that lifestyle as opposed to the lifestyle of a student, which are very different, by the way.
I'm not sure I agree with you on this one, Steve Perry, but, you know, I still like you. One day one of your little boys is going to come to you.
I like you even more. Taking time off from Harvard to spend some time is a little different than taking time off when you don't have any college.
I agree, and I'll tell you this, I suddenly realized how much that tuition was when I was paying for it myself. No question about that. I figured that out really, really fast. Steve Perry, we're out of time. Always great to see you. Thanks for talking with us. Steve Perry is a CNN education contributor. Endpoint with the panels up next. We're back after this commercial break.
When the government threatened their freedom, he was the last to believe in their cause.
You want me to make an army out of a group of peasants?
But became the first willing to die for it.
Today we're going to send a message. Freedom is our wives, our children, and we will defend it or die trying. Que viva Cristo Rey!
Andy Garcia, Eva Longoria. For Greater Glory, rated R, in theaters June 1st.
When I travel, I can't always stick to the same airline and hotel chain. So my travel rewards used to be these. Little hotel shampoos, pillow chocolates, and salty little snack packets. Thank you. But now with Expedia Rewards, I get rewarded for how I travel. Points for any hotel and any flight. See? Yes! Expedia.com. Yes!
Every day they go to work, they're surrounded by beauty. Every time they get inside, they're surrounded by luxury. Every one they take for a test drive surrounds them with joy. Because your Jaguar retailer knows these are cars as alive as you are. And they'd love to show you just how good that can feel.
State officials urge complete evacuation. Severe flooding is expected.
It's okay. We're ready.
When the things that matter most are on the line, make sure we are too. The storm response team at 1-800-SERVE-PRO. Like it never even happened.
Sarah,
Every day spent with you has been a gift. So here's a gift for our new life together.
With over 165 years of experience, New York Life can help ensure your loved ones are always taken care of. It's the most selfless gift you can give.
It's Energy Economics 101. States that don't rely on coal pay nearly 70% more for their electricity than states that do. So why does this administration and their EPA continue to impose heavy-handed regulations on coal? By failing to understand the importance of affordable power, the EPA is failing America. Now is not the time to add pain at the plug to our pain at the pump. Now is the time to make your voice heard at americaspower.org.
I got new carpet for this entire room, but I only had to pay for this much of it.
Empire's 60% off sale is on again. You won't want to miss it. Shop at home and save 60% on quality name brand carpet with no interest for 1 year, and we install next day.
You can get a lot more carpet for a whole lot less.
60% off is huge. Call today.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
In our last 40 seconds, Will King, what you got?
Yes, ma'am. Congressman John Lewis here earlier talking about nonviolence and the fact that those protests they had in the 60s had workshops ahead of time, preaching and teaching nonviolence. I thought it was fascinating.
Even the words to the songs that they would sing, which were all church songs.
Right. Isn't that fascinating? And I think it does raise questions. The protests we're seeing today, you know, have they gone through the same process, commitments?
Different agendas.
But the process is not.
The process is completely different. No one's teaching anybody anything.